Shalom to the hopeful elect of Israel. Let's give all praise, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bashim Yahweh Shah, Bashim Rachak Kodash. Double honor to our elders and apostles, great millstone. I want to go over, I want to make a correction video because I made a incorrect, I gave an incorrect date, and I just want to correct it and probably do a little edifying, Lord willing. All right. With that, I'm going to go to my mistake. A lesson I did with the beloved brother by Yanash this following Monday, or this past Monday. We did a lesson, and then while I was starting the lesson, I was going into how the social construct of what happened in Virginia in 1681. I'm about to say it again, 1681. The mistake I said was 1807 or some shit like that. Okay, well, I'm gonna play this and then we're gonna go from there.
As China, they're biblically being called out who they really are. Ammon, who's so-called Japanese or Japan, is being called out for who they are. You got the Hamites, right? You got all the Hamites, the so-called Africans. The so-called Egyptian, so-called Ethiopian. They're being called out to who their fathers is. The cover.
Before I continue, let me get the scripture I pulled up. I was talking about. I got it right here. Yeah, Isaiah 25. Isaiah 25:7 states, this is the Lord, right? This is the Lord's doing. Isaiah 25:7, through his word. It says, and he will destroy in this mountain the face of the covering cast over all people. Now, the face of the covering cast, well, let's go to that word mountain. That word mountain signifies a government, a form of rulership. Okay? America, being ruled by Esau Edom, is that mountain. All right? Again, he said, I will destroy in this mountain the face of the covering cast over all people. That covering cast has been our people, all people of the entire world, being called something that they're not. We all have a biblical name. We all have, if you believe in the Bible, if you believe the history of the Bible, if you believe the prophecy of the Bible, if you believe the people in the Bible, you understand that they're still, or you understand that their bloodline, that their inheritance is still here today. Or can I say inheritance? I'll just say that their heritage is still here today. All right, the people of Adam, how it was broken down into 18 different nations from Adam. You got the Israelites. To make it simple and plain, Salakia. You got the Israelites out of 18 nations, and then you got the other nations that are heathen nations. But you got the Israelites, and who are the sons of Jacob, who Jacob's name was turned later into Israel, or Yasharallah. And you have Esau. These are brothers. And this has been the whole determining factor of how the Lord wanted things to go on the earth between Esau and Edom. Esau and Israel. All right. Rebecca was told that there was two nations in her womb, with two different manners of living, two different ways of living, two different spirits. All right. And this is how the Lord wants things to play out. All right. But the thing is, the world is given to the hand of the wicked, which is Esau, Edom, Job 9:24. And this is what he do with his time. He set a covering cast over all the people, where nobody knows who they originally are. All right. Let me get it. Let's go to what I was saying.
Cast being removed. Esau Edom, right? He who called himself the white man, going back to Virginia in 1807, 1806, 07. He came out with the social construct of being the so-called white man. And now he's being sought out for who he really is.
Yeah, we gotta get into that too, but let's go back here because it's not 1807. So I want to say Salaki for that, giving out that wrong information. I'll go here, 1681. I'll say social construct of Virginia. Generating. All right. In AI overview, in 1681 Virginia, the social construct was characterized by a developing system of racial hierarchy. All right, and the increasing institution of chattel slavery. All right, key elements: race as a defining factor. By this time, the racial distinctions between people of European and African descent were becoming increasingly solidified in law and practice. So, in other words, the things like gentrification, things like redlining, these things were taking place as a form. Even what's the thing that it was a constitution or what do they call it? It was a law that they had where you could no longer be a so-called slave or chattel, an individual of slavery unless you commit a crime. I forget the damn name of it. Damn, it was an amendment. Yeah, it was an amendment. The 13th Amendment. I forget. I think it's the 13th Amendment. All right, matter of fact, let's prove all things. Let's prove all things. I'll come back. Amendment. States that the 13th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, ratified in 1865, abolished slavery and involuntary servitude, except as punishment for a crime within the United States. All right. So, in other words, let's make things. We're no longer going to say we got slaves unless we can institutionalize them by creating laws that they're pretty much going to break, which is pretty much since 1865 to 2025, the so-called well, I'll just say Esau Edom, man, the red man. He's established these laws, these unrighteous decrees, for to keep us, in a loop of to keep us in a loop of perpetual down spiraling. All right, just to keep us underfoot. All right, there's no such thing as equality or none of that shit. Going back to the current statement I was getting into, the social construct of 1681. It changed up. It is what it is. Keep on changing up. It say, I'll read this one. It say in 1681, colonial Virginia's social structure was undergoing a significant transformation, moving towards a more entrenched hierarchy rooted in racial distinctions and labor systems, particularly after the event of Bacon's Rebellion in 1676. Here's a breakdown of the social construct. So, in other words, it's saying a hierarchy rooted in racial distinctions and labor systems. Right. The same thing about these jobs. You got Esau as the executive manager, or whatever, the regional manager, all that, and then you got Jake, and Jake got to damn near look like Esau, talk like Esau, laugh at Esau jokes or whatever, and damn near, be like Esau to even be considered, there probably got to marry a Edomite type shit to even be considered. There's a lot of, the practice of what we call selling out that goes behind a so-called Negro or Latino, Israelite, especially a man. because a lot of the Israelite women, they get all type of positions over the men. That's also a form of a social construct to put our women over us, okay, to keep us as the Israelite man down. All right, but this is all been constructed over time, ultimately by the Lord putting our enemies over us because of our disobedience to the Lord. And how do you fix that? How do you fix that? As a nation of people, starting with our men, how do we fix that? By returning back to the Lord, by doing as He tells us to do, with a contrite and a humble spirit. A spirit of acknowledging our offense, and then correcting ourselves to the best of our ability. That's what this whole thing is all about. It's not about building up our nation. It's not about who's right and who's wrong. It's about repenting seriously, honestly, and doing our best to correct our steps, and through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shema Shah, forgiving Yahweh Shah as a form of mercy for us to even have an opportunity to return back to Him and taking it serious. That's what this whole thing is about. It's not about big eyes, little U's, none of that bullshit. And all these people want to come up out of nowhere. Hey, we try to keep it simple. All right, the simplicity of Yahweh Shah is all we need, and with that, and Lord, will He continue to give us this faith and His Spirit? The goal is gonna be accomplished through Yahweh Shah. But we gotta break down. We gotta bring the strongholds, as the scriptures say, and the Lord is doing this, as we just read in Isaiah chapter 25. The Lord's going to destroy in the mountain the face of the covering cast over all the nations. All right, and this is one of the particular things. Let's see if they're going to say, all right, yeah. Number 1, planter elite, top of the social ladder, a small group of wealthy white landowners who held considerable political and economic power to this day. Matter of fact, I got something I want to play that I just saw. Let me see if I can find it. That'll be beautiful. It'll be a nice little insert. Yeah, check this out.
We ain't gonna never have no peace. The culture, the nature's different. I don't hate you. We can eat your wrestling. We want to marry your women. We got your women now. It ain't nothing we can't do today. But these things the dog got. I see dogs on television eating out of the same plate with white people. I see dogs in the buses, and they do everything with the dogs. So I ain't getting nothing the dog ain't got. So really, ain't nothing in this integration. I need some land. I need some jobs. My people need jobs. We need something so we can build and do for ourselves, and we must have some land. 40 million people. It's a lot of Negroes just in New York and Cleveland, Baltimore, Washington, California. It's a lot of black. Woo, that's a whole nation. 40 million, man. They don't tell you the truth about that. They want us to stop having babies. They give them birth control. They're paying black women not to have babies. 40 million, not 20 million? Yeah, they're paying black women not to have babies now. They got all kind of plans to stop our race.
Well,
so when we know all of this,
getting into birth
so now
control,
a man with my knowledge, what can you tell a man like me now? What's your suggestion? That's your question. Okay, you talking to me, not a dumb Negro or pork chop eater, don't know the truth. I'm free now. I woke up. Now, what are you gonna tell me now? I done gave you my solution, some land of my own, doing something for myself like you, England, and America do. Now, I know you're not against the black man. I know.
It's like a fair use. I know, it's music in the background, all that bullshit. They might try to change it up or whatever. Matter of fact, damn, can I do it? Let me see. No, I can't do it. Fuck. We'll see what they do. But listen.
You're not against me having my land, are you? I know you English and ruled and slaved forever for a long time. But do you still today don't want me to have my own country and build for myself and govern myself? Would you think that's bad if we thought like that? What's your solution to my problem? 1974, white man just flew from New York to England in an hour, less than 2 hours. You all are so progressive. You're walking around on other planets. Now, today, I'm intelligent too now. What's your suggestion? What should be my movement? Integrate?
Yeah, equal rights in a mixed society.
In this society, where you still own
You see, and that's the thing. That's the truth. They want you to integrate. I'll probably do less with this script, with this a little bit later on. But that's the thing. They don't want us to have our own. Every time we ever had an opportunity to have our own, it never benefited them. It never benefited. Matter of fact, I already got.
Truth going out.
I got what I need from here too.
10:3. For we walk in the flesh, we
Now
do not war after the
It's
flesh.
tripping
For
Salaki, yo.
weapons of our warfare are not carnal.
Salaki, bro. But yeah, that was just, I had to play that because when you see what this man has plotted up against the children of Israel, especially us Negroes here in America, right? It's all constructed to keep us on the bottom, and rightfully so, because this is his kingdom, this is his world. But we can't get. I want to see. Damn, they took it off. The white. That's what they say in European. I want to get. Let me see if I do it like this. White. I'll just leave it right there. Whites. Yeah, beautiful. The social construct of whiteness in 1681, Virginia. In colonial Virginia, around 1681, the concept of white as a distinct racial or social category was actively being constructed and defined through legislation and social practices. All right? They said, I forget. It's in the Apocrypha, though. Be our strength. Yep. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 2, verse 11, it says, let our strength be the law of justice, for that which is feeble is found to be nothing worth. So yeah, through law, through legislation, they constructed these ways to keep us on the bottom. This is not happenstance. This is not by coincidence. This is an actual set up system of white supremacy. And that word white, right? White meaning, definition, what I should say. White meaning, right?
White.
The color of milk or fresh snow due to the reflection of most wavelengths. White. Burnt. Symbolize. What does white symbolize? Let's go there so they want to play. Here we go. AI overview. White is a powerful color that with diverse symbolism in Western cultures, right here in the West. It often represents purity, innocence, and new beginnings. However, in many Asian cultures, white is associated with mourning and respect. White can also invoke feelings of simplicity, cleanliness, and sophistication, and it is frequently used in design to create a sense of spaciousness and elegance. So taking this on, understanding this concept, that's what they call their self. Going back to the social construct, what's black? Because if you look at any so-called black man,
Black.
let me get the definition first. It say black. Symbolize. What's black symbolize? That's not what it used to say. They got they're trying to make it sound good. Well, now we're in a time where they make good evil and evil good, right? They call evil good and good evil. Let's see, it's a it used to be dirty, ugly. Okay, let's go here. Who's that? Webster. 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 1980s. Look at that nigga. Right. Black. You're not gonna tell me? What does color black mean in the dictionary? That's about as close they're gonna get me, huh? The absence of light. That's the closest they're gonna get me, right? Huh? What is the origin of the word Webster? Oh. Did black originally mean player pale? No. Salakia, but they had terms such as like black meant ugly, dark, dusty, dirty. Black had all these negative connotations. And that's what they could decide to call the so-called Negroes, man. Since 1681. All right? Since 1681. Let's go here. Let me see. Let me go back to that. Social construct. Again, the key aspects of the social construct of whiteness in 1681 Virginia. A newly defined category. The term white began appearing in legal documents in Virginia around the 1680s, marking the emergence of a new social and legal category for people of European descent. Elevating European laborers. Following Bacon's Rebellion, which involved a coalition of poor Europeans and enslaved Africans, Virginia's ruling class sought to solidify their power by creating distinctions between these groups. They granted poor white indentured servants and farmers certain rights and privileges that were denied to enslaved Africans, quote unquote, heavily, quote unquote, Africans, because we're not Africans, the children of Israel. Effectively creating a white identity that stood above and separated them from the increasing enslaved African population. What the Lord say about that? Yep. Deuteronomy 28 and 44. In fact, I'm opening it up. Let's go down to 40. Go to our enemies, right? Yeah, 36. The Lord shall bring thee and thy king, which thou shalt set over thee, into a nation which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, and there shalt thou serve gods, wood and stone. All right? That's coming over here to America. You know, we were spread to America. We went to, you know, the Northern Kingdom, went from America to Spain and Portugal, and then back over here to America. And we came from the west coast of Africa and other neighboring countries, right, that went on them slave ships, you know, from Europe to over here to America, from Britain to France, you know, our conquerors, and brought us over here on slave ships, which we had to serve out our sentence, right? We had to serve out our prophecy, right, to serve another nation. Verse 37 it says, "And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb and a byword among all nations, whether the Lord shall lead thee." And that actually go back to the covering cast. You can put that with the covering cast, because what they call it, we were no longer the children of Israel. Pursuant to Psalm chapter 83, the Lord gonna bring up a nation against us. You know, they're gonna conspire against us, that the name of Israel be no more in the land. Nobody was speaking about Israel. They're talking about Israelis. Until this truth started booming up from the internet. Nobody cared about the Israelites, especially the Hebrew Israelites, right? Why they want to get into it. But anyway, verse 37 it says, "And thou shalt become an astonishment and a proverb and a byword," nigger, spick, right? Black, African American. Yeah, that social construct, black, African American, all these subtitles. "And thou shalt become an astonishment and a proverb and a byword among all nations, whether the Lord shall lead thee. Thou shalt carry much seed out into the field, and shall gather but little in, for the locust shall consume it." And is that not what's happening to us even right now to this day? Even right now to this day, they jacking up the prices on rent. Your insurance getting jacked up. You gotta have $40,000 a year job from two people to make a decent living. If it wasn't for the spirit and the mercy of Yahweh Shem Shah, a lot of us would probably just be trying to go back to the spirit world right now. Anyway, it says, verse 39, "Thou shalt plant vineyards and dress them, but shall neither drink of the wine, nor gather the grapes, for the worm shall eat them. Thou shalt have olive trees throughout all thy coast, but thou shalt not anoint thyself with the oil, for thine olive shall cast his fruit. Thou shalt begat sons and daughters, but thou shalt not enjoy them, for they shall go into captivity." Okay? Meaning, not just, physically, but even mentally. We can't really teach our children, what we know. We can't teach our children, to like your boy Muhammad Ali, Cassius Clay, whatever you want to call him, like he was just saying, right? We don't have it where we can have our own. They're gonna go into captivity. They're gonna be taught whatever our enemies want them to learn. They're gonna be mentally polluted. Verse 42, "And all thy trees and fruit of thy land shall the locust consume." And this is the point I want to get, verse 43. "The stranger that is within thee shall get above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail." And that's us. So-called Negroes, Latinos, Native American Indians, West Indians, Haitians, and the rest of the speckled bird. But specifically those that's been that went through the slave trade. Right? That's us. Nobody else can take that. And so when these blessings come, when the Lord returns us back to our heritage, right? Y'all don't get it. Y'all are not a part of Israel. Your other heathen nations, after everything is set up, except for Esau, Edom, y'all gonna be blessed. Y'all gonna reap the benefits of being under righteous rulers, starting with Yahweh Shah. Y'all gonna reap the benefits. And no more poisonous waters and drinks and the ability to destroy your temple by eating, abominable foods and smoking and all that bullshit. All that shit you're gonna be able to enjoy life to its fullest. You ain't gotta worry about dying at a 40, 30, 40, or you ain't gotta worry about dying at 20 years old from violence and gunshots and shit like that. That's Esau's world. You ain't got to worry about dying at 40 and 50 because of a heart attack and strokes, working all hard and shit like this, or eating unsavory food, and catching diseases. Nah, the whole earth is gonna benefit when Yahweh shall return. And the rightful rulers, the children of Israel, starting with the hopeful elect, Starting with Yahweh Shai. The hopeful elect through Yahweh Shai. Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. Then you're gonna be alright. Right? But for them 1,000 years, y'all gonna have to learn. y'all gonna have to get that y'all gonna have to get that work. Y'all gotta get that work. But yeah. Damn. I could have put that up in the scripture. Let's go back. Social construct of whites. They got a different damn thing every time, boy. They just going through it, huh? They say, back to in 1681, Virginia, the concept of white as a social construct was in its early stages of development, largely driven by the interests of the colonial elite following Bacon's Rebellion. Okay. Let's go here to the, where it say? Because I was at the point where it was talking about the difference between the higher ups and the Africans. Okay. Let's go to legal codification of race. Laws were enacted that further define and solidified the social construct of white. Okay, right. Like I was telling you about how these unrighteous decrees, since they had the power in their hand, they're gonna use the law, right? They're gonna use the law to pretty much enforce their agenda, right? Which is what we just read in Deuteronomy, is to make us the tail, to put us on the bottom. All right. It says these include laws preventing interracial marriage and prohibiting black people from holding office or testifying against white people. Shit, you see that? See, and this is what a lot of our people. Oh, well, that was back in the past. It don't. This same shit happened today. To this day. This is the social construct. You could have two Negroes walking through a so-called downtrodden neighborhood in the hood, in the ghetto, and they'll have to either run, shoot their way out, or they'll have some kind of conflict with the Negroes that's in that neighborhood. But send two Jehovah Witnesses to ride on bikes through that motherfucker and won't nobody touch a hair on his head. That's a social construct. This white man is protected by years of us developing love for our oppressor. The Lord said, envy not the oppressor, man. Because his time is coming soon. And though I'm not educating or trying to inspire nobody to to change up. No, don't change. If you're gonna change up anything now, it's not to even get carnal. As a man, if the Lord put it on you, on your spirit to do the work, man. That's all we need. That's all we need. Teach people the names of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. Teach them the truth, the 100% truth according to the scriptures, and let that be. Let that be. Let the Lord handle everything else. That's all I wanted to say, man. I just wanted to put that out there. That 1681 is not 1807 like I was saying or whatever. Like I told Big Bro, I said that probably was just a movie or some shit. I was watching a movie or some shit, But yeah, it's already at almost 30 or something like that. I ain't want to make this too long, so I'm gonna just leave it right there. But yeah, that's one thing I do want to bring up, right? Because while they was making all these laws, legal codification of race, laws were enacted that further defined and solidified the social construct of white. These laws included preventing interracial. Okay, yeah, I just read that. So, but yeah, that time is up, man. That time is up. I just gonna put a little something out there, man, to let y'all know. when all this shit happened. 1681, the social construct of it. 1681, the social construct of Virginia of whites was established, pretty much. Not 1807. I'm gonna close out with that. Lord willing, lessons edifying to the elect. Shalom.